Hey guys, on a lot of our videos, particularly the how-to videos, we get comments like, why do we have to do it that way in Japan? Or what if I do it another way? So, you know, if we explain something like a Genkan, have a look at how they do the Genkan thing, or have a look at how they do pretty much anything. There's often a comment from somebody saying, but what if I do it another way? You know, what if I don't wear slippers? What if I bring my own slippers? What if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do this? And it's sort of a natural instinct, I think, for some of us who come from Western countries, Western cultures, is that independent thinking, you know, that individual thinking, that everybody's doing this, I might do something else, you know? And it's difficult to explain how these guys see that, you know? But I was wondering if there's another way to look at it is, for example, in many Western societies, we talk about it being a jungle, you know, it's a jungle out there. It's a jungle out there. It's every man for himself. You know, you have to look after yourself. It's survival of the fittest. You know, we have that aspect to some of our societies, some of our cultures. And in fact, that sort of thinking is actually admired, you know, and like, for example, I know in Australia, you know, if someone's really different, if someone does things really differently from everybody else, we say, oh, he's a bit of a character, you know, and we admire it. You know, we admire people that do their own thing and do it their own way. And, you know, people can do the weirdest stuff they want to do in Australia and everybody goes, oh, he's a character. What an interesting character. We sort of admire people that do that, think outside the circle and do things their own way, you know, and that sort of culture is very much like that, you know, that independent sort of survival of the fittest, every man for himself, you know, and thinking about yourself, and you got to look after number one. There's another one. I mean, I'm sure you guys can think of lots of examples of things that we say like that. That's actually a good example. You know, you've got to look after number one. You've got to look after number one, you know, and it's a big part of that way of thinking. So it is like a jungle, you know, living in that sort of society is a bit like a jungle, because, you know, it's everybody sort of looking after themselves and, you know, fighting for what they want and their rights and their stuff, you know, what they want. I was thinking Japan is probably more like a beehive or an ant colony, the society. I'm not talking about individuals, and I'm not talking about everybody, you know. Anything we talk about like this, of course we don't mean everybody. You know, Western society, not everybody's the same. Japanese society, not everybody's the same. You know, but I'm just talking about the society. The society is, instead of being a jungle with dog eat dog, every man for himself, Japan society is more like a beehive or an ant colony, where everybody works together and does things sort of the same way. And there is a million examples of this. I think if you take this example, this beehive colony, ant colony thing, and apply it to pretty much any aspect of Japanese society, it fits. Because I've been thinking about this for a long time, you know, without talking to anybody about it yet. I've been thinking about it, and it fits with so much of what happens here, you know, and it helps understand so much what happens here. You know, Japanese society has its way of doing things. And the way it's seen is that the society, the group has decided that this is the best way to do it. And so that's the way it's done. And so if we come along and say, well, I'm not going to do that, you know, you guys all take your shoes off in the Genkan and put on slippers and walk around in slippers, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk around barefooted. The way they see it is we're basically saying that we know better than everybody else, than the group. So the group, not just the group of people around us, but the whole hive, the whole society, and back into history. So it's not just the people now that have decided slippers and Genkans and taking your shoes off is the way to go. That's been a part of Japanese society for hundreds of years. So you're talking about Japanese society for the last few hundred years, and millions of people have decided this is the best way, and then you rock up here and say, oh, I don't like that, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to walk around barefooted. or whatever it is. I mean, you look on pretty much any of our how-to videos, and there's always comments on there from people saying, well, what about if I do it a different way? And what would happen is, these guys are very polite, and they're not going to make a drama, because the colony, the hive and the colony is all about harmony. So if you decide to do something different, it's not likely that anybody's going to make a big scene, because that's not cool either. They want harmony and tranquility happening. So they're not going to make a big scene and cause a big fuss. Probably. Occasionally it happens, but probably not. So they'll probably just let you do your thing. And their response to you will be, oh, that's interesting, oh, okay, But in actual fact, you're causing a scene, you're causing a problem, and they're not going to be comfortable with you doing it often. Not always the case, but often they're not going to be comfortable with whatever radical thing you've decided you're going to do. So, it's always, I've been trying to explain this in different videos in the past. You can do it. You can come here and do your own thing and do things differently if you want to do it, and spend your time here and then go back to your own country. You can do it if you want to, but like I keep saying, it will close doors, and it's for this reason. These guys, think about okay, the ants have gone off and they're collecting this thing and bringing it back, and they're all doing it, and then one ant decides he's going to walk off and do something else. And it just doesn't, the way they see it is, no, that's not what we're doing this. So, when they don't understand it, when everybody's doing something a certain way, or at a certain time, or a certain place, or whatever, everybody's doing something, and one person decides to do something else, they just don't get it. It seems incredibly selfish and incredibly childish. So if we can sort of see this, if we can sort of understand this beehive ant colony thing going on, everybody's trying to do the same thing, and if we can come here, and it is difficult when we've come from cultures that don't like that, it can be difficult, but I'm not trying to talk anybody into doing anything. I'm just trying to find different ways of explaining what it seems that the thinking here is, so that you can make a decision for yourself how you're going to behave, But yeah, stepping outside the circle and doing things your own way isn't admired here like it is in other countries, and it just does seem to be a natural instinct for lots of us, automatically when I make a video explaining something, but what about, and there's a certain element of people who think, oh, well, I'm a foreigner in Japan, so I can do what I want. That's not the way they see it. It's not the way most Japanese people see it. They don't see it like that. Oh, I'm a foreigner, I can do what I want, because they don't see it like that. When they go to other countries, they don't do that. When they go to other countries, they try to understand how things are done in that country and try to do it that way too. And that's what they sort of expect here. They don't think, and the other thing is, they don't understand your culture. So when you come here and you say, well, no, in my country I do it this way, so I'm going to do it differently, they don't go, oh yes, that's right, yes, in Albania they always do that way, that's right, so that's okay, or in America they always do it that way, so that's okay, or Australia, or whatever. They don't think like that. They think, whoa, what's he doing? Everybody is doing it this way and he's doing it that way. What's he doing? So just so for some people, I think this, maybe this will help understand the thinking, but for in other cases or other examples, it's really interesting. You can apply this to everything. Apply it to the language. So if you come to Japan, spend time in Japan, or if you're looking at studying aspects of Japanese culture, try and apply the hive mind or the ant colony style formula or style way of thinking to pretty much any of it, and it fits. It often fits. So another part is the communication. Japanese style communication and language is really uniformed. So if I walk into a dojo, I'll walk into a dojo and say konbanwa, and everybody says konbanwa, and I say onegaishimasu, and they'll go onegaishimasu. And then the next person walks into the dojo and says konbanwa, and everyone goes konbanwa and onegaishimasu, onegaishimasu. And everybody does exactly the same thing. And if we walk into some family, one of our family's homes, we'll walk in and we'll say ojamashimasu, and they all hate to say. It's always, not always, but usually 99% of that sort of stuff is the same words every time. And it's sort of like, and it's the group. Everybody says the same thing. You know, if I walk into my family home in Australia, you know, one person's not going to say anything, one person's going to say hello, one person's going to say, oh, long time no see, one person's going to say, hey, how you doing? One says, oh, yeah. Everybody's going to say something different. But here it's not like that. Even the communication. And it makes me think, you know, ants and bees do that. You know, the bee comes back from somewhere and goes bzzz, and all the other goes bzzz, and they communicate. I don't know if you guys have studied this stuff, but bees and ants do this. They communicate to each other about what's going on. And they go, now we're doing this. You know, we found some flowers over there, and now we're going to those flowers and bringing back the nectar, you know, and they bzzz, and they communicate that to each other, and then they all communicate that, and they all do the same thing. And these guys do the same thing. Before they eat dinner, eat dakimasu, everybody does it. We're now going to eat dinner, you know, and they finish eating dinner. Gosho sama desu, everybody says it. You know, we finished eating. Thank you very much. It was all good. So, and so much of the society here is like that. Kindergarten, preschool, elementary school, junior high school, and high school. Each of those steps, they have a joining ceremony for each of those steps. A welcoming ceremony. Joining ceremony is the way it's translated, and they do it for each of those steps. So for kindergarten, preschool, elementary school, junior high school, and high school, and university, and pretty much any other group, dojo, club, association, anything else, they have some sort of ceremony when people join. You know, if you join a company here, the boss will take you and the other staff out, and they'll have a sort of a dinner where they make a speech in aisatsu. So it's like a meeting each other thing, and they always do it. You know, if you have a sports day here at the beginning of the day, they have an aisatsu, and this is a really big part, being part of the group, communicating with the group, and the group communicating with the members and the group. You know, and it's all about that. So you know, the aisatsu, the meeting, and the welcoming ceremony, the joining ceremony, and the leaving ceremony. You know, if you leave a company here, they have a function or a party for you. And if you join a company, they have a function or a party for you, joining the group. And then they always have a meeting, and they always say the same stuff. Oisagashi naka. So even though you're really busy, you've come here, you know, Minasan honjitsu wa oisagashi naka. Always say the same stuff, you know, everybody today on this special day, you are all busy, but you came anyway. You know, it's always the same. It's always the same, and it's always it's one of the reasons why Japanese society works so smoothly. I mean, it really does. It really works really smoothly because it's all been worked out, and this is how we do everything. Everything has a system. You know, everything has a system. Everything has a way that they do it. Everything. You know, every step of it. And to some people, to some of us, that can be difficult sometimes, but it's just the way it is. And they see it that all this stuff, everything's been worked out. You know, there's a way of doing everything. I've got a friend of mine, he says, it's normal, I think. If I say to him, why do you do it this way? You know, why is it done this way? Why do they do that? Why is it? He says, it's normal, I think. And you know, it's quite common to hear a response like that, you know, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that there's a better way. They don't want to hear the questions about it. Why is it done this way? Why do you do it this way? Why do I have to do that? It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Shogunai. It's just the way it is, and that's the way it's seen. And even the stuff that drives people crazy, and you will find that there is some stuff here. There are some systems here and ways of doing things here that Japanese people don't like either. But they just accept it. Shogunai. Shogunai. It's just the way it is. And they just accept it, and they just do it. So, and that's the point too, is that they've got stuff here that is difficult for them as well that they don't particularly like. And they have to do it. And that's why it seems childish if we say that we want to do something differently, or that we don't like the way that it's done, or that we want to do it differently, or want to do it our way, or whatever. It just seems childish. because they have to conform. Whoever it is that you're with or that you're talking to, and you're telling them that you want to do it your way. Well, why? Why? They have to do it their way. So, I mean, this isn't an attempt to talk anybody into doing anything. This is just another attempt at, because, you know, this is prompted by those comments that come on the videos all the time about, you know, but what if I do it this way, and what if I want to do it this way, and what if I don't want to do that, and, you know, what if I want to use a fork, and what if I want to, you know, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, look, you know, you can, of course you can. Of course you can. Do it your own way. Do whatever you want to do, you know, but this is the way it's seen. It's not seen in the West. That nobody's going to look at you and think, oh, what an interesting character he is. No. They might say that in a very nice way. Oh, very interesting. But it's not what they're thinking. You know, they're thinking, wow, you know, hundreds of years of developing this culture, and this guy knows better. You know, he thinks he's got a better way of doing it. So, you know, if you can go with the flow, and do what everybody's doing the way that everybody's doing it, your life here will be better, and more doors will open to you for sure. So, but for other people, or for as well as another sort of side thing to this, just try applying this to aspects of Japanese culture. There's a million of them. I wanted to tell you a million of them, but I can't talk to you all day. So, but there's a million of them in the language. You know, look at the language and the communication style, and you know, the communication style, the language thing in particular. You know, if you're in a group and part of a group, you know, itakimasu, gosso sama desu. You know, if you're leaving, everybody says the same thing at the same time. Walk into a shop, you know, isemase, and you know, it's always very much just like ants and bees do that. When someone moves in or out of the group, they communicate to each other what's happening. You know, and ants do it. You know, ants come along and they communicate with their antennas, and I think some odor thing too, communicate with each other, and bees, you know, vibrate and stuff and tell each other information, and it's very evolved. I mean, that hive thing, the beehive thing, is supposed to be the most evolved type of society there is on Earth, you know, so it's very evolved. So, you know, obviously that's one of the reasons why Japanese society is so smooth, because it's an advanced style of society, a selfless society where the group's more important than the individual. So, you know, not easy for a lot of people to take, but it is the case. And, you know, just apply that principle to whatever you're looking at, part of Japanese society, and see if it fits. I'm sure if you guys can think of any, leave comments, because I'm sure between us we can find hundreds of examples of how this fits. You know, how applying that hive society and Japanese society, how often we can find the connection between the two, you know. So anyway, the purpose of this was to help. I mean, it's on the how-to playlist. The purposes of this is to try and help some people who will come to Japan understand some stuff about, you know, how it is or how it may be. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting, and I hope somebody found it useful. More videos coming soon.